It feels like there's playoff baseball being played right here in May. The Nationals get ready for a big series against the Philadelphia Phillies. What should the Nationals expect? A tough one.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on X. And of course, search up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, including over on YouTube. Hit that subscriber button. Please hit a thumbs up, hit a thumbs down, whatever you may want. I will support that. Later on in today's show, we will be discussing Victor Robles. What kind of future does he have in this organization? Because as we know, last weekend against the Boston Red Sox, it was an awful series for the guy. He basically cost the Nationals a series win over in Fenway Park. So what should the future be? Because the Nationals, they have some outfielding prospects expected to be coming up. James Wood, pretty soon, you could say. So what is the future for him? We'll discuss that in the third segment of today's show. In the second segment, one of the new staples of Locked On Nationals, every Friday, the second segment, you will be getting a Nationals prospect stock report. What that will entail is all your latest individual performances from the Nationals prospects. And of course, today, we've got some pretty good stuff going on, including one of the Nationals' top prospects, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. He has been heating it up down in Double-A. So we'll discuss that in the second segment of today's show. But we got to start off talking about this huge series going up against the Philadelphia Phillies this weekend. And of course, when you play the Phillies, I don't know about you, I wake up. That is when I want to see the Nationals win, especially when you're going against the Philadelphia Phillies in Philly. You always want to see them beat the brakes off Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and the rest of the guys who used to be with us, no longer aren't. But before that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And now we get started with talking about this huge National series. As we sit here today, the Nationals, they are pretty good. I mean, you could say that they are a lot better than a lot of people expected. They are 20-22 on this young season so far. They are tied for the third wild card spot alongside the San Diego Padres, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and of course, the Mets are only a half game back right now. The Nationals, this is going to be a huge series for them because, again, when you talk about going up against the Philadelphia Phillies so far, they are the best team in all of baseball as we sit here today. The Philadelphia Phillies have the most wins. They have the best winning percentage. Everybody you look at, their offense is lethal up to this point. Their pitching staff has been phenomenal. You're hearing guys like Ranger Suarez getting MVP discussion so far. And of course, they've got a lot of different guys in that rotation that can affect them at any given moment. This Nationals team, though, as we have kind of figured out, they aren't the best against clubs over 500. Right now, I believe they are 6-11 against clubs who are over 500 so far. So the Nationals, they've been beating up on the opponents that you're supposed to. You're beating up on the Miami Marlins. You sweep them down in Miami. You're beating up on other teams like, you know who, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Whatever it is, the Nationals, they have been taking care of their business when they need to. But when you play against better ball clubs, this is when you have to capitalize on your opportunities. So this is the first time you're going up against the Phillies so far this season. And this is a team that obviously is a scrappy one. We're talking about the Phillies. Again, very good offensive metrics. They can hit you at really any given moment. And of course, they do have a lot of pop in that lineup as well. But one thing in particular that I think is very concerning for this Nationals team right now is the offensive woes that they've kind of been going through so far over the last week plus. And you're going up against some of the better pitchers on this Philadelphia Phillies staff. In game one tonight, you have Jake Irvin going up against Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler has owned this team for quite some time now. And again, when he is pitching at home, he is usually on his A game. That is when Zach Wheeler kind of brings out the best of himself. And of course, Zach Wheeler, in my opinion, I think Zach Wheeler is probably the best pitcher on this staff, even sitting here today. Zach Wheeler hasn't had his best season as a Philly so far, but still, this is someone who will take advantage of a really lackluster offense right now, which is what the Nationals are. The Nationals have been in this funk for really what seems like a few weeks now. So you're going up against Jake Irvin, who also has been pretty damn good for this Nationals team as we sit here today. He's got, a pretty good ERA. He's striking out a lot more guys than what he was at this time last year. Had a 3.55 ERA so far this season. But Jake Irvin, I feel relatively comfortable going up to tonight's game and having to get a win. Because again, this Nationals team, they have struggled against 500 opponents. And when this Nationals team goes up against solid pitching, as we saw the other night with Eric Fetty, it's going to affect us. The Nationals offense will have to wake up, especially going up against a pitching staff like the Phillies, because it does not get easier from here. Tomorrow, you're going up against left-handed pitcher Christopher Sanchez, who's been one of the more pleasant surprises so far this year for the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not going to be an easy one. And then again, on Sunday, you go up against Aaron Nola. I think this series will tell you a lot about this Nationals team. Because again, we all know what the struggles have been so far. We expected starting pitching to kind of be not all that great this year. We all wanted to go out there and have Mike Rizzo and the Lerner family spend money on a starting pitcher this offseason. That just never came to fruition. But as we sit here today, the starting pitching has been a huge, pleasant surprise for this organization. But the offense, on the other hand, while you have individual performances like C.J. Abrams, Luis Garcia, and guys like that who have been kind of carrying the offensive production so far, the pitching has not been the problem. So now when you go up against a team like the Phillies, who can kind of beat you in both ways, and especially in their starting pitching category, in my opinion, and a good bullpen, by the way, this is going to be a very tough series to win. Now, can the Nationals do it? Absolutely. But at this point, what is your confidence in them getting it done? Because we have seen them in years past, kind of the offense has been decent at times. We all know that they don't have the home run production that you probably should. But still, when the Nationals get on base, they run the hell out of you. But you're going up against a good Phillies pitching staff. This Nationals team will kind of have to bring out their small ball again. Because we saw this with the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. And again, this is a National League pennant champion team last year. I'm not saying they're going to be the Diamondbacks this year. But we always say, in today's game, you have to hit for power in order to kind of have success. Well, the Diamondbacks, they didn't really hit for that much power last year. What they killed teams is on the base paths. They killed them with a little bit of small ball. And you saw that in the World Series last year. Obviously, they dropped to the Texas Rangers, but still, that was a very good team. That was a very young, vibrant kind of ball club who kind of went against the grain of 2023 baseball, in which you don't have to just hit home runs to win games. Even though I truly do believe that power is a huge part of today's game and the success that you will have. I think the statistics will say that in years past as well. But that is where this Nationals team has struggled immensely so far this season. And of course, they've been doing that since they lost Josh Bell and Juan Soto just a few years ago. So now going forward, going up against a good Phillies pitching staff, the Nationals offense will have to wake up. And maybe it doesn't come in the power category. Maybe you just get on base, have a few sack bunts here and there, get on base. Simple as that. If the Nationals can do all the small things right, then maybe you do have a chance against one of the better teams in all of baseball up to this point in 2024. Because again, when you go up against Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, and Aaron Nola, they're not going to be giving you free, easy bases here. It's going to be a very tough series to win, but ultimately, this Nationals team, they could potentially get it done because you have Jake Irvin tonight. Then, of course, in tomorrow's bump, you have Mackenzie Gore, who I believe is the ace. And then you have Trevor Williams, who has been your best starting pitcher and one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball up to this point in 2024. So Nationals, they've got some favorable matchup, but on the other side as well, the Phillies do also. So it's going to be a very, very fun series seeing them compete against the Phillies. But ultimately, the Nationals, you're going to have to find a way to get it done, probably playing some small ball here. So that is the way I kind of see this series going. Maybe what you see might be a little bit different. Later on in today's show, guys, we got to talk about Victor Robles because, again, one of the Nationals' former top prospects. We all know about him. Is the road over? Let's have that conversation for him a little bit later on. But next, it's time for a prospect stock report. I'll give you a little taste of it. Dylan Cruz, Christian Vaquero, Jeremy De La Rosa, and of course, you may be wondering, Gavin Dugas, one of the Nationals' 6th-round picks, one of Dylan Cruz's best friends back in the day. We'll discuss that a little bit later on in the show as we get into it. But now, got to tell you guys about some of our very good friends over at FanDuel. And guys, when we talk about FanDuel, this is what you need to know about them is that it is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Then you got the Timberwolves and you got the Nuggets going into a Game 7. I can tell you this right now. I'm going to bet on the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, place a few dollars on him, maybe a point over as well, because he has been killing it this playoff season. And of course, all that is $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and much, much more. It's so much fun with our friends at FanDuel. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. And of course, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Again, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, you can check us out over on YouTube. Just search Locked On Nationals there, and then you'll find us wherever you get your podcast. Again, just search Locked On Nationals. So now we have to do a Nationals prospect stock report, and it is a nice sight to see when you have a top 10 prospect in baseball, former number 2 overall pick, Dylan Crews, leading us off for a stock up. Dylan Crews kind of to start the year was a little bit slow, and again, slow by his standards. It wasn't really alarming. I was never concerned with it because Dylan Crews is going to hit the baseball at the major league level. We all know that. The Nationals know that. They are not concerned whatsoever when it comes to the production of Dylan Crews. But over the last really week and a half or so, his last 8 games, Dylan Crews, he's back to being Dylan Crews. He's batting .333. He's got a .419 on-base percentage, a .556 slug, and a .975 OPS. He's got 4 extra base hits so far, 1 home run, including 3 doubles, 6 RBIs, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. This is the production that I expect from Dylan Crews. Again, I was never concerned with what was going on down in AA. He started off a little bit slow, but again, the Nationals, you should never be concerned about this. I always try to remind people this. Look back at Bryce Harper's stats when he was down in the minors. They weren't all that impressive. Obviously, once he got kind of adjusted to it, things started to look better. His swing was really coming through. And again, Dylan Crews is a much more mature prospect at this point. So I think that is why kind of people were like, should we be concerned at this point? No. Dylan Crews is going to be just fine. And as you see, he's starting to get in the swing of things. And of course, if he starts to continue to hit this way, which I think he will, because this is the prospect that you're getting, one of the better hitting prospects overall in all of baseball, in my opinion, even considering James Wood, who is already in this organization, who has now jumped Dylan Crews in a lot of different prospect rankings. So I expect this from Dylan Crews. This is what you're going to see. So that's why you may not be seeing him all that much on the stock up report, because again, I expect for this guy to hit. He's going to hit for a little bit of power. He's going to hit for average. He's going to get on base. All the different things. Again, I still think he is one of the better overall hitting prospects in all of minor league baseball. And now you're starting to see him kind of get in the swing of things, get adjusted to playing every single day. And of course, that is going to be an exciting sight to see as he makes his way up through this Nationals organization and play a pretty damn good center field as well. So stock up for Dylan Crews. Someone that we used to be very high on, still are, but it is noteworthy. A stock down for Christian Vaquero. So far in the month of May, and really just in general so far this season, he has struggled a ton. Over in May so far, he's batting .143 with a .583 OPS. He is 4 for his last 28, and he's only got 3 stolen bases. Now, you may not be all too familiar with Christian Vaquero, but this is someone who is 19 years old. He's still very young, one of the top Dominican prospects, or he's really from Cuba originally, but one of the top international signings coming out just a few years ago. Christian Vaquero has all the talent in the world. His nickname was the Phenomenon, after all. But as we sit here today, he has struggled a ton so far since getting stateside. Last year in rookie ball down in Florida, he was pretty good, but still, I thought there was a little bit more room for him to really kind of improve his swing, get back on track, but he is at the same age as what Elijah Green was at, and even just a little bit older at this point, just last year. Elijah Green struggled a ton down in Fredericksburg, still continues to struggle a little bit, but Christian Vaquero has got, in my opinion, almost as much talent as Elijah Green does, and it just simply has not clicked in Fredericksburg. He's batting ninth in the lineup, which is, I don't know where he'll fit in the long term as far as lineup goes, but you're 19 years old. You're still really young. But as of right now, it has been a huge struggle for him at the plate. Things are clicking from defensively in the outfield. He's got a really good arm. He's got really good range. When he's on the base path, he makes some really smart decisions. He's got some high baseball IQ is what I've heard. So Christian Vaquero, it just has not clicked for him at the plate. And of course, if you know me, we need offensive production. Luckily, the Nationals have a ton of space in the outfield for as far as organizational depth goes. You've got guys like Dylan Cruz, James Wood, Robert Hassel, and the list goes on and on and on. So Christian Vaquero is going to be at his own pace right now. You can't rush him up to the bigs. You can't rush him up through the system, but it has been noteworthy that he has struggled so far. So can the Nationals kind of tap into the talent that he does possess? We'll just have to see as the season continues to go on, as he turns 20 years old, as he continues to get older. It'll be a struggle bus for him here right now. And another Nationals prospect, too, used to be very high on a lot of people's lists. Stock up for Jeremy De La Rosa. Right now, he's rehabbing in Fredericksburg and recovering pretty well from what I've heard. But he's been really damn good so far. And again, he should be in high A at least, probably double A really if we're talking about it. But Jeremy De La Rosa so far since coming back, he has been killing the baseball. He's batting .357 with an 1165 OPS in his first 8 games, and he's got 8 extra base hits on the season, as well as even got a home run included in that. Jeremy De La Rosa is someone that a few years ago, I was talking about him already being in the majors right now. I thought he even could be in the majors just this last year, but he kind of struggled after 2022. 2022 was really his breakout season. Last year struggled, had some injuries as well. And of course, the way that the Nationals organization is set up right now, you got James Wood who jumped him, Dylan Cruz has jumped him, Robert Hassel III has jumped him. All those guys have been doing a lot better than him so far. And again, injuries have kind of derailed his progression, I guess you could say. But Jeremy De La Rosa is still someone who is young, still someone who does possess the talent. So coming back into the swing of things, it's nice to see Jeremy De La Rosa kind of get back on track and do a lot of good things that the Nationals maybe thought they could do, or maybe thought he couldn't do. But at this point, he's been damn good for Fredericksburg so far. So we'll have to keep an eye on him as he moves his way up the organizational ranks yet again. But again, stock up for Jeremy De La Rosa. Now we got to stock down. One of the Nationals, in my opinion, one of the sleeper prospects just a few years ago, TJ White. First baseman / utility outfielder, whichever you want to look at him as. TJ White, you saw him hit a home run at Nationals Park in the Prospects against the Bigs game over in March, but still, TJ White so far this season in Wilmington, it has not been pretty. He is 4 for his last 32 in May. He's batting .125 with a .518 ops in the month of May. And again, this is someone who's got a lot of power. He's got a ton of ability at the plate. He can spray the ball in both ways, but he has not taken his walks. He's striking out a lot more than what people are anticipating. So TJ White, and again, he was kind of one of those guys I was looking at saying, well, what could he be? Maybe someday down the road, the way that the Nationals org is set up, he's not going to be this big power threat anymore, but still, you have an opening at first base. As of right now, the Nationals, the weakest link in the organization is over at first base. You don't really have someone who is a set-in-stone replacement. You may look at Yohandy Morales, but still he's kind of switching from both sides, playing first base and third base, and hell, maybe even the outfield someday. I don't know what the Nationals will do over at first, but TJ White is one of those guys who kind of naturally fits a little bit more at first base, kind of fits that profile, the big power bat there. Yohandy Morales does as well, but still, his power hasn't really been that great so far this season, and really since joining the Nationals. I'm not concerned about that overall. I think the guy's a slugger overall, but still, TJ White is kind of one of those guys who you've been in the organization for quite some time now. You're still young. You got drafted out of high school, I believe, in the 5th round just a few years ago, and he's had some bright spots, but overall, TJ White, he's got way more talent than what he does production so far at the plate. I would like to see him kind of take the reins a little bit, hopefully kind of get back in the swing of things, hit some power, and maybe the Nationals should probably send him down to Fredericksburg and figure this thing out, because last year when he was in Wilmington as well, it wasn't good. So maybe you send him back down to Fredericksburg, have him go to a lower level, see what he can do in a much more hitter-friendly ballpark, by the way, down in Fredericksburg. So we'll see what the Nats do, but ultimately, TJ White, still a decent little prospect, but the power has not really been showing, and that is one of his key contributions to this org going forward. So One of the another guys who is kind of an interesting one, 6th round pick in 2023 down in Fredericksburg, Gavin Dugas, one of the Dylan Cruz's best friends in the organization, on that LSU national championship team, a huge contributor, you could say, to that national championship run as well, one of the glue guys on that team. So far in Fredericksburg, again, when you are 23 years old, which Dugas is 23 years old, he's a little bit older for Fredericksburg, he's been killing the baseball so far. So far, he's got 28 hits in his first 20 games in Fredericksburg. He's got 4 home runs. He's got 2 doubles, or 9 doubles rather, my bad. And he's also got 6 stolen bases with 1,000 ops. That is pretty good. I'm not all too really high on Gavin Dugas, in my opinion. I don't know what his ceiling is. Maybe he can be like a utility kind of player up in the big someday, but I'm not really looking at him as someone who's going to be an impact kind of player. But so far, if he does turn into a utility guy for this Nationals team with good defense, maybe has a little bit of pop at the plate as well, that is a success. You need guys like that. And again, you see it at the major league level with Nasim Nunez and the way that he plays, a defensive first kind of guy. But I think Dugas is a much better hitter at the plate than Nasim Nunez at this point in his career. But you need guys like this. You need guys to kind of come up out of nowhere, quote unquote, and have that sort of production, because at this point in their career, maybe, just maybe, he could be one of those kind of out of nowhere guys to help this team and maybe just be a utility guy moving forward. And that'll be a win for this organization overall. So stock up for Gavin Dugas. He's got my attention as we sit here today. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now let's have an open conversation about Victor Robles. Again, one of the Nationals' former top prospects. Has it hit the end of the road for Victor Robles? This time it might be for real. I'll discuss that after we tell you guys about some of our new friends over at Supply House. And guys, get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is a reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service time from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trade can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free trade masters program. Every trade master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. And now we get back into it as the Nationals, they get ready to take on the Philadelphia Phillies. But as we sit here today, the Nationals, they've got a Victor Robles problem yet again. At some point in time, you're going to have to ask yourself, when is it time to give up on Victor Robles? And again, this kind of goes back to last week and what he did at Fenway, dropping a ball in center field. That was just inexcusable. Another stupid blunder on the base path. It's over with. It's done. Should the Nationals move on? Yes. I don't know if you can get anything for Victor Robles at this point on the trade market. Last year, there were some rumors that the Yankees were interested in him, and maybe he's just one of those guys who needs a change of scenery, and then he can kind of take off from there and just get a little bit better help, but it's not working for us anymore. At this point, if you want to see a good outfield, you don't want to see Victor Robles in there. He's got the talent, he's got the range, he's got the arm, but still, he makes all these stupid decisions of missing cutoff men over and over again, overthrowing over the third baseman. He's always looking for the flashy play, in which he can make them at times. We've seen him on the SportsCenter top 10 plenty of times throughout his career, making diving catches, making really nice throws, but he makes rookie mistakes, and he's not a rookie anymore. This is year 5, year 6, year 7 in the majors. It is now time for Victor Robles to get in the swing of things and mature and do everything right. And at this point in time, you can't trust him. So at this point, I'm tired of the Victor Robles experience. A lot of people have been calling, being like, you got to start talking about this. Victor Robles, we're done with him. I agree. I just feel like you shouldn't really shed light on it, because I think the Nationals know that it's over for Victor Robles. At any given moment, he could be DFA'd, and I would not be surprised. But again, Victor Robles is one of those guys where you kind of go back to the old player development regime. I think it was an ultimate failure what they did with Robles. This is someone who had some power in his bat, who was hitting for average, really talented center fielder, could steal a ton of bases down in the minors, and it just never clicked for him up in the majors after having a really good rookie season back in 2019. I don't know what the fix is. I don't know if there is a fix, but I can tell you this. If I was Mike Rizzo, I'd say, thank you for your time, Victor Robles. Out the door immediately. I'm done with it. No more stupid mistakes. No more costing us series wins because, again, the Nationals, let's just say they lose out from the wild card race in one game back in this September. I'm going to look back to that Fenway game and be like, Victor Robles, you cost us a postseason spot, and who knows what could happen moving forward, but I'm done. I'm tired of it. Time to move on. Time to see some new blood here in the outfield. And, of course, maybe you will get that soon with James Wood. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Enjoy the Philadelphia Phillies series. This is one I always get up for. And again, you want to beat Bryce Harper. You want to beat Trey Turner. You're going up against a very good pitching staff. See what the Nationals can do because, again, they are better on the road than they are at home. You are on the road, but you are playing against a very good team. So when push comes to shove, let's see if the Nationals can get a series win this week. And, of course, we'll have that breakdown for you on Mondays, Locked On Nationals. But until then, enjoy the weekend. Have a good one. I'll see you on the flip side.